Most chiropractors, certainly small businesses, have limited time and resources. How can we apply lean marketing? Where do they start with this lean marketing process?
One of the core concepts of the book is that your marketing should be so good, it has a positive externality. An externality is a word that economists use to define an effect that's kind of a side effect. So, for example, if there's a factory pumping pollution into the neighborhood, that's a negative side effect. So that's a negative externality to the local community versus like neighbor's backyard. And my neighbor is a mad gardener. They've got a beautiful garden. They spend all day there weeding and watering and doing all of that sort of stuff. And so I sit on my balcony and I appreciate the beautiful garden, the water feature that they've got there. So that cost me nothing, right? So that's what we would call a positive externality. In a similar way, we want our marketing to be a positive externality.
Allan Dib, welcome to the Marketing Your Practice podcast. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Angus, I'm exceedingly well. How are you?
Buddy, I'm happy and very well, and I'm excited to be talking with you. You've got a new book that's come out. Congratulations.
I do. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Um,
It's been a real journey.
it Firstly, as I was mentioning to you beforehand, it's the marketing book that I always wanted to write. I had one in my mind that I would write for chiropractors, and you've done. It's extraordinary. A lot of. I'm just going to flat out recommend now that our audience buy the book and start to implement what's in there as well. Tell me this: what? Because the one-page marketing plan, which was your first book, which was a
Yeah.
tremendous success. What inspired you to write this book? How does it expand on, your first book?
Yeah. So I really don't write, I really admire authors who just pump out a book every year and, like a Ryan Holiday or Mike McAllowitz or those guys. But I think of it a bit differently. I only write a book when I absolutely have to. And so, what I've been seeing in the marketing landscape is just more, more, more. You need to spend more. You need to do more. You need to post more times a day. You need to do all of this complicated, difficult stuff, the new AI tool, the new thing. And what I found was that the best marketers in the world have a very lean approach to marketing. They just do a few things, but they do them at a world-class level. And so a lot of the theme of this book is marketing implementation, but doing so where you don't have to do a million different things, where you don't have to kill yourself, have a huge budget, have a massive team, all of that sort of stuff. What are the few things that are really going to move the needle? And so where this book falls in line with the one page marketing plan. The one page marketing plan was very much about getting clarity, getting structure, getting a framework, really having a good idea who your target market is and the strategic components, the planning. This book is very much about implementation. What's the stuff we need to do to get a maximum result with a minimum of inputs? So the books, they are independent. You can read just one or the other, but together they're like 1 + 1 = 3. So that's kind
Yeah.
of the goal I had for the book.
This book is super tactical. Often when I'm reading books like this, there are missing pieces for me. It's enough to kind of get started,
Yeah.
but just you go through all of that. And also, I don't know, I'm going to feel like I need to, I've read the one page marketing plan numerous times. You got funny. Like there are numerous laugh out loud times in this that I've really chuckled there too. So was that intentional?
Yeah, look, let's face it, marketing is maybe not the world's most exciting topic. And the last thing I want to do is just write a textbook. So many times I've been reading a book where the concept is awesome, but man, it's boring and it's written in a really dry manner. It feels like a textbook, academic language. And I'm like, what can I bring that's a little bit unique, a little bit autobiographical as well? So I tell some of my own stories and things like that, because then that becomes it becomes not a textbook. If I can have people entertained throughout, that will increase the amount of people that get through the material. I think of that with all marketing. When you think about marketing that you enjoy, stuff that you enjoy watching or listening or reading or whatever, there's definitely an entertainment component. That's kind of like the price of admission sort of thing. So, you can't bore people into learning or buying or doing what you want. But if you keep them entertained, there's a good chance that they'll get through your material.
And it was one of the 10 copyright laws that you go through as you talk about being
Yes,
entertaining. And,
yes,
and I noticed it literally from the start of the book, the difference in it. It's something that we as chiropractors often really struggle with because we see ourselves as professional, we see
yeah.
ourselves in healthcare as well. And so, therefore, bringing any kind of personality or any idea of entertainment to our marketing, to our messaging, to our communication is well, we think it's frowned upon as well. But would you say that same idea of entertainment goes for service businesses and businesses like chiropractors also?
I, I think it applies to everything. And it's not about being a joker or a clown or
Mm,
those sorts of things. I mean, even if you're in a very serious kind of business, you still want to keep people's attention. So it may be the way that you deliver your services, maybe the energy that you bring to what you do. You know, we've all been to service businesses, whether it's chiropractor, whether it's physio, whether it's someone else, where you know, the person has just a great amount of energy. They'll tell you stories about someone else who's had a great experience, what someone who had a similar condition to you did, and all of that sort of thing, versus someone who's just very clinical, whacks you and cracks you, you're in and out, and you're like, did I see a person or did I see a robot? So, just bringing a little bit of personality into your business, because really, whether you're in the chiropractic business or any other business, you're really in the people business.
mm.
What's something that somebody wants? What are their hopes, dreams, and desires? So, yeah, so it's not necessarily about being clownish or funny or whatever, but it's just bringing that energy that's going to keep people connected.
Yeah, I think good advice often is when all else fails, authenticity is really valuable. So, you
Yeah.
know, some people are naturally funnier than others. But if we play to our strengths, I like to remind our audience that there is an audience for everybody. There are Justin Bieber fans and there are Rolling Stone fans. And then, did you go to was it a Tool concert recently that I saw you in the mosh pit? What was that about?
Oh boy, am I regretting that. So yeah, my
Look
buddy
on
Dave
your face.
my buddy Dave Jennings, who lives not too far from me, he texted me the night before, goes, there's this festival going on tomorrow at Flemington or whatever. I've got a spare ticket. Do you want to come? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll come. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So it was basically a heavy metal festival or whatever. We ended up at 2 hours in a mosh pit getting squashed by shirtless, sweaty people who, God knows what was going on in there. But anyway, that was my first mosh pit, and I would suggest probably my last.
I love it. But it did this idea of authenticity, of letting our personality shine through. Because, there's an audience out there that wants a chiropractor to be quite serious and,
Yeah,
perhaps the doctor role. And then there's an audience that wants somebody that's more of a coach and a support and a champion, a
yeah.
cheerleader for them, also there too. When it comes to most chiropractors, the same as most, certainly small businesses, have limited time and resources. How how can we apply lean marketing to them? Like, because it feels like it's kind of written for them. Where do they start with this lean marketing process?
Yeah, so one of the core concepts of the book is that your marketing should be so good that it has a positive externality. So I sort of define externalities, and an externality is a word that economists use to define an effect that's kind of a side effect. So, for example, if there's a factory pumping pollution into the neighborhood, that's a negative side effect. So that's a negative externality to the local community. So they're manufacturing something, and there's a cost to the community because of that, pollution in the air. Versus, like, for example, right now, just behind the camera, I can see out my backyard, and I can also, because I'm high on the hill, I can see over my neighbor's backyard. And my neighbor is a mad gardener. They've got a beautiful garden. They spend all day there weeding and watering and doing all of that sort of stuff. And so I sit on my balcony and I appreciate the beautiful garden, the water feature that they've got there. And so that cost me nothing, right? All the cost, all the effort, all of that is borne by my neighbor. So that's what we would call a positive externality, right? So it's something, it's a side effect, it's a positive side effect that I didn't necessarily pay for, but it elevates the neighborhood. It's nice to look at and all of that sort of stuff. So in a similar way, we want our marketing to be a positive externality. And like I said, I don't write a book unless I have to. But one of the things that I saw is that everyone's cranking the volume louder. Everyone's making bigger promises. You got all these, I was on TikTok just yesterday and there's ad after ad after ad saying, hey, get a flat belly by January 1st right now we're recording, it's December 10th. So we're, a few weeks away from January 1st, 7 minutes a day on workout on a chair and you'll get a flat belly by 1st of January, which is, complete bullshit, as anyone
Ridiculous.
who's ever worked out would know, right? So the promises are just becoming ludicrous. The volume is cranked louder and louder. We keep getting interrupted by ads, pop-ups, ads, spam in our inboxes, all of that sort of stuff. And so I'm like, how do we not add to the pollution and the noise and the junk that's out there and all the stuff that's spamming us and all of that? How do we be that positive externality where when someone interacts with some of our marketing, they get a positive side effect, whether they buy from us or not, whether they
Mm.
become clients or not. And so that's some of the stuff that I saw the best marketers in the world do. That's something that I personally do. So from a marketing perspective, what's the stuff that I'm doing? And like I said, it's very, very few things. So I run my own podcast, which gives you valuable information, whether you buy or not. And tons of people listen to it who will never buy from me. I put books out there, which again, maybe they're not free, but they're almost free. I mean, you can get my
Mm.
book on Kindle for I think like $2.99. Again, it's touched over 1 million people worldwide, the vast majority of who will never become clients of mine. But every single day I get positive feedback. I get emails saying, hey, I love the book, or, it changed my life, changed my business, or whatever. And we send email newsletters to our audience twice a week. Again, very value centric around, hey, here's a new idea we came across. Here's something that we saw works really well. Occasionally there'll be a call to action to one of our products or whatever, but the vast majority of it is, hey, here's something valuable that you can take away, an idea that you can use, inspiration, education. And so whether you buy from us or not, if you're in our ecosystem, you're going to get a positive externality in your life. So it creates a lot of goodwill. I get a lot
Mm.
of people who just are fans, or people who invite me to speak, or people who invite me onto their podcast like you have. And it also works. It generates a lot of lead flow. Like we have tons of lead flow. In fact, we just keep hiring people in our sales team, setters and closers, who just spend all day just handling all the lead flow that comes in. And that's as a
Mm.
result of us putting a lot of value out there in the marketplace. So we don't do the spammy nonsense. We don't do the kind of interrupting, annoying ads. We just put out really cool stuff, which the vast majority of people who listen to it or read it or whatever will never buy from it, but enough people buy that it generates millions of dollars of revenue in our business.
Yeah. And you do a great job of it. I mean, the books are, I mean, I've paid thousands of dollars for courses that haven't done what your books have done. I mean, and that's, I literally have done that also. It seems there might be some of our listeners that are saying, that sounds like a fucking lot of time for me to be kind of creating that kind of value out there too. I had a business to run, patients to look after, and yeah, I'd like a few more,
Yeah.
but I also would like some time on the weekend with my family.
Yeah.
How do you prioritize? How do you pick a medium? Is it my website? Is it my
Yeah.
Google reviews? Is it social media? Where do we start with that?
Yeah, so I would start with one thing. So where people go wrong, they try to do everything at once. They try, let's do LinkedIn, let's do Instagram, let's do all of email newsletters, all of that sort of thing, and then they either do a mediocre job at all of them, or they kind of burn out. So I would choose one thing, that a medium that you love. So for example, for
Mm.
me, it's text. I'm a text first person, so which is why I write books, I write email newsletters, all of that. Some people just love they've got the gift of the gab, they love being on video, whatever. In that case, great. Well, maybe reels on Instagram or a YouTube channel is for you or whatever. Some people just love chatting with others or whatever. Maybe a podcast is the thing for you. So choose the medium that you enjoy the most or the modality. So whether it's audio, video, text, whatever you enjoy the most and that you can do long term. So start thinking about this long term. So make this a 10-year project, not a 10-week project, right? So what's a medium that you can just show up? So for example, I've shown up on email newsletters twice a week for years and years and years. I've put out books two books over the last couple of years. So what's something that you can show up for the long term? You're not going to burn out. For example, for me, showing up on video, I do it, and I do that, but it's not my natural modality. I don't love it. I'm usually having to do multiple takes and things like that. So it's not my ideal medium. But text, I love that. I love reading, I love writing, and so it's my natural modality. So once you've chosen a modality, then you can start to think about platforms. So for me, LinkedIn is the platform that I really focus on most. That's outside of my email newsletter and my whole ecosystem and things like that. Because again, it is mostly text-based. A lot of my audience are there. So you choose the platform that you kind of enjoy the most. So if you consume on a platform a lot, like you love Twitter or you love LinkedIn or you love Instagram or whatever, that may be the platform that you enjoy creating on as well. I would recommend, though, that you do build some stuff in-house. So use external platforms to point back to you. So our email newsletter, all roads lead to Rome. So when I'm on a podcast, inevitably the host will say, hey, where can people find about you? I say, hey, go to leanmarketing.com. We've got an email newsletter there. Because once someone is on my own platform, I control that. Whereas I could spend tons of time and tons of money and tons of energy building up on someone else's platform, and then one day the rules change, the algorithm change, they don't like what I'm saying or whatever, I get deplatformed or banned or shadow banned or whatever. And you don't have to be doing anything even super controversial. And I mean, as you would know, in healthcare, there's a lot of limitations as to claims you can make, even when they're 100% true, when they're 100% legitimate. There are weird rules that stop us from saying certain things, and it's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. So you want to, as much as possible, focus on platforms that you control as well.
So let's see if we can give that kind of practically for, we've got chiropractors listening here.
Sure.
So we're going to choose a medium in there. And so let's just, for something, because you've kind of laid out the writing one.
Yeah.
Let's just say that it's somebody who is really confident or is prepared to get confident on video.
Yeah.
So they've decided that that's the modality that they'll use. In terms of platforms, I'd be interested to see whether you differ from this. Pretty much now the size of the platforms, whether it be LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook or Instagram, YouTube, pretty much everyone is everywhere. Chances are, and whilst we might say, look, there's a slightly younger audience on TikTok and maybe there's more B2B on LinkedIn, they're kind of so big now that choosing the platform that you like to be on is probably the best advice. Is that pretty fair?
Yeah. The platform that you like creating on, the modality especially that you like creating on.
Yeah. And obviously it makes it like if you're going to do video, then there are platforms that kind of more that way than the others. So I've decided I'm going to make some videos where, with regards to that, if I want to own my stuff, how can I kind of link that in with, I've got a video process that I'm going to be kind of sharing out there with the community. How do I start to own some of my audience if that's my modality?
So you've got a little bit of work to do prior to shooting video. So the thing that I would tell you is, what do you want to become famous for? So in your niche, what's your specialty? What's the problem that you solve? And I'll give you a few examples from healthcare. So for example, there's a guy called Knees Over Toes Guy. He's on all over Instagram and TikTok. And he will, I don't know, he's got a bit of a story around, I don't know, he broke his knee or whatever. I don't remember exactly the story, but he's now the knee guy, right? If you've got a knee problem, he's showing you all these exercises and these monkey foot attachments and all of this sort of stuff. Now he's got a course, he's got a whole ecosystem around that. Now, Probably he can help you with elbows. Probably he can help you with necks. Probably he can help you with backs. But if he just said, "Hey, I can just help you with anything," he wouldn't be where he is now. He has millions of followers and millions of
Yeah.
people that follow him. Another guy that I see, I think, is a physio. He calls himself Squat University or whatever. Just talks about like mobility, particularly with squats and all of that sort of thing. So even though as a chiropractor, and I've seen chiropractors that differ hugely in terms of what they specialize in. Even though that you can help people in many different ways, in many different parts of their body or whatever. What's the thing that you kind of want to be famous for? Are you the knee guy? Are you the guy? There's a guy who literally his whole practice is just helping elite sports people with elbow problems. So
Mm.
especially tennis with other sort of stuff because people are looking for specialized solutions to their problems. They're not just typing in chiropractor. They're probably typing in chiropractor who can help with tennis elbow or whatever, or knee pain or that sort of thing. So what's the thing you kind of want to become famous for that you specialize for? So once you've got a clear idea of the problem you solve and who you solve it to for, then you can create content. Now that isn't to say you can't take patients outside of the thing that you're focused on, but what are we going to direct our time, energy, and resources towards in our marketing? So what are we going to create content for? What are we going to run ads for? Who are we going to reach out to? So that's someone you want to be really ultra clear about. So that'll be the first thing. Become clear about what do you want to be famous for? What's the problem that you solve and who you solve it for? Once you do that, an easy
Can I
thing to do. Yeah, please.
can I double click there for a moment?
Sure.
Because this was a section I think you did really beautifully in the book. Because this idea of what do I want to become famous for? What am I best in the world for?
Yeah.
Most chiropractors, when I talk to them about that, they're like, really, I'm probably not the best of the world at
Yeah.
anything. And famous for like, yeah, I'm a good chiropractor, but am I the and in the book you talk about kind of breaking it down, looking about kind of unique
Yeah.
characteristics that bring you into kind of a category of one or a category of few.
Yes.
Can you talk our audience through that? Because I think that'll be really helpful for them at this stage.
Yeah, so it's a concept called the Venn diagram of success. So, and I mean, I'll use myself as an example, and I do that in the book as well. So, you know, broadly, the category that I'm in is business consulting and business growth. Now, that is a massive, huge category. There are millions of people, and if I just said, "Hey, I'm just a dude who's a business consultant who'll help you grow your business," well, I'm in the red ocean of everybody else who's saying the same thing. But now, if you think of a Venn diagram and you think of multiple places where a circle intersects, so um, I'm an author. I'm a marketer. I'll help you with marketing, business growth. I've had business X. So there's a unique kind of point where I become essentially a category of one because of kind of different experiences I've had, different things that I've done, different unique characteristics and traits that I've got. And everybody has that. It's not just me. So
Yes.
you have unique experiences, you have unique skills, you have unique education or whatever. And so if you can kind of put together some of those Venn diagrams and put them together and find that essentially unique spot. And when I say unique, it doesn't have to be like it's so unique, nobody else in the world. Like, I mean, there are other authors who write on marketing who maybe have a more entertaining approach to their marketing. Like there are some, right? Let's face it, right? So I'm not necessarily completely unique, but I'm in such a small category that maybe there's 30 others and I know most of them, and we're not really competitors. We really help each other out. We launch each other's books and things like that. So you want to kind of go from competing with every single chiropractor in the world to maybe the 10 guys who are specialists in whatever it is, and there's so much business for you, you're not really competitors. You're working together more than anything.
Mm. I like I think it was Dean Jackson that has this concept, I think, of 5 Mile Famous. The fact is, if even if you, Alan, were to find some chiropractor who seemed to have an amazing skill set at helping elbows, if that's
Yeah.
what it was. If that chiropractor happened to be in Vancouver,
Yeah.
he or she, they're useless for you.
Totally.
But really, what you want to position yourself is, how can I be the best in that category in my area? And it's
Yeah.
probably a pretty tight radius that's for most of us not a lot more
Totally.
than 20 kilometers in there also. So this idea, that's my competition in around that. A bit different for you that your business is a lot online and people can
Yeah.
do business with you from everywhere. But when we're a brick and mortar business there too, and we're wanting to become famous, it's like, all right, I want to be known. I was talking to a client of mine recently, and she was out for lunch with a friend of hers, and over the period of lunch, she had 3 or 4 different strangers come up to say, "I love your videos; they're so helpful." Then
Yeah.
somebody from the
Totally.
restaurant, then this, and her friend looked at her and says, "What the heck are you doing, Lisa?" And really, it's just that same process that you've talked about. And it was this: she's very targeted with where she boosts her content.
Yeah.
She doesn't that radius there in around my practice, but I want to be kind of 5 mile famous as
Totally.
well. So sorry, I kind of interrupted, but it's a
No, it's
piece
all
I
good.
know that most chiropractors kind of run up as like, where am I at with that too? So once we've kind of chosen that, next steps from there.
Next steps from there. So a really good um, way to do it, especially if you do something visual, which I think chiropractics would be, is essentially you don't need, like it's a heavier lift to kind of script content, come up with something, put together a video. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do that. I think that's a great thing to do as well. But a pretty low lift thing to do is just to document what you're already doing. I remember seeing a YouTube channel with a chiropractor, and you may know who that is, but where with patients' permissions, he would film them, and so they would come in bent over double, or like they could barely, move an arm or whatever, and then he'd show the after video of whatever 3 weeks later, or whatever, and they were all good and they were moving well and all of that sort of thing, and it provided a really really powerful narrative around, hey,
Mm.
here's what this kind of intervention can really do for you. And so yeah, again, I mean, he got patient permission to do that, but he was essentially just documenting his process. And you would literally see him whacking and cracking people, he'd move them this way or whatever, and
Mm.
all of that sort of thing. And then you would see uh, the transformation, and in a lot of cases, it looked like miraculous. Like people would come to him in such terrible condition and leave in such a better place.
Mm. I wondered too, because you talked about kind of being valuable and value centric with your content. One of the things is that when as chiropractors we have patients coming into us that have health challenges, we have a vehicle that we deliver through, which is our adjustment. But
Hmm.
most of us have other conversations as well. So I might want to say, look, your body's inflamed, so maybe you should eat more of this and less of that. And
Yeah,
here's
totally.
some things. And we can deliver a lot of this value centric things, whether it be through our videos or through our written words there too. And often a really nice call to action to say to people, hey, listen, if you're already doing all these bits and pieces and you're not getting the results you want, then probably the missing piece is you need an adjustment. Okay.
Yeah.
And then it's a really easy kind of invitation calling, but we constantly be kind of adding value. And I know one of my goals and with people I work with is see if you can actually help people without them needing to come in and see you. If you can get somebody a result before they can even do that, you'll build
Totally.
massive amounts of trust, authority, expertise, all those sorts of things there too. So going back to, and apologies because I was the one that derailed you.
No, please.
I'm making these videos. I'm doing this type of stuff there too. And if I'm wanting to own the audience, other than getting email addresses and doing that, is there another way that I can really take control of this audience?
Yeah, so I like email just because literally everyone's got an email address,
Yeah,
right?
me too.
And so,
Yeah.
I mean, not everyone's necessarily on Facebook, not everyone's necessarily on TikTok or whatever. So, definitely directing people to email. I think the other asset that you've got is website. I mean, as a chiropractor, you've got their physical mailing address as well. I
Mm,
mean, I would ask you, when was the last time you sent a handwritten note to someone, right?
yeah.
How much would that cost? Like $2 inclusive of postage, but that is such a pattern interrupt. I use that all the time. Like I'll meet someone and send them a handwritten note, and we've got our digital inboxes have become so stuffed and packed, and our physical inboxes are empty, which is a marketer's dream. So if you want to be a pattern interrupt, show up to someone. So yeah, for sure, send their emails, for sure, show up on their social media. But I would think about sending something physical in the post, whether it's postcards, handwritten notes, letters, all of that sort of thing. Again, you'll be showing up somewhere, and again, packages or handwritten notes or letters have almost like 100% open rate, right? When was the last time you got a package and you just tossed it in the trash without opening it? Pretty much never, right? So you're going to open the package, right? Whatever it is. And so I would think about mediums like that as well, especially that you're in the local neighborhood. Um, there's a lot of things that you can do with the local community as well. So, for example, we've got a local real estate agent. Every now and then, he'll put on a cinema night just for he'll just rent. I don't think it even costs him anything in terms of the council, but he'll rent a little outdoor park area. He'll put on like recently for Christmas, he put on a movie Home Alone. And
Yeah.
everyone in the local community comes. He says a few words or whatever, creates a lot of positive goodwill in the community, and he's in front of all the people who are potential clients. Maybe not now, maybe in a year, maybe in 2 years, maybe in 5 years or whatever. But it's a positive externality. It's better than if he sent spam and it landed in my inbox saying, "Hey, do you need an agent who's going to sell your house?" Blah blah blah, all of that stuff. This is creating a lot of goodwill in the local neighborhood. So there's being a local business, you've got a huge advantage over a lot of other businesses that are kind of online, or they've got a big global audience or whatever. There's a
Mm.
lot that you can do to really own that, create a lot of goodwill, show up in front of the community and things like that.
Yeah, love it. And so that would be another whole strategy in terms of, if we're thinking about modality, and it could be, okay, well, my modality is really going to be community and building through
Yeah,
community relationships.
powerful.
I'm going to run, for a number of years, we ran an Easter egg hunt. We did the same thing. We got a park and we didn't bother. This is what got us into trouble in the end. We just went down to the park and hit a bunch of Easter eggs. And then all of a sudden it just, by the fifth or sixth year, it was huge. And the council said, you can't do that. But we built a lot of goodwill from that. And we ran
Yeah,
workshops and we helped out community events, those type of things there too. So there's many practitioners out there like, I'm just not up for this social media game. So great. There's lots of different kind of
totally.
ways that we can kind of go about that as well. In the book, one of the things that you talk about is the importance of data-driven decisions.
Mm,
Um, what sort of metrics are important? If we're looking at metrics here too, what are important for us to keep on top of? What might
yeah.
we use as chiropractors?
Yeah, so look, there's a ton of metrics that marketers use. There's click through rates, bounce rates, open rates, and all of that, and they're all good. But I call those kind of micro metrics, and they're mainly useful for troubleshooting. Okay, what's going on with my email campaign? Why am I not getting clicks? Okay, let's have a look at the click through rate. Let's have a look at the open rate. Okay, people are opening it, but they're not clicking through. Is there a problem with the link or whatever? So they're kind of micro sort of metrics. They'll help us troubleshoot specific stuff. But really, there's only two metrics that really, really matter.
Mm-hmm.
There's cost of customer acquisition and lifetime value. So, and really, lifetime value is where it's at. So, it is exciting to get new clients and new patients and new people through the door and all of that. And that's what a lot of marketing is focused on. And that's great. Absolutely do that. But where the money is really made is in someone sticking around, in increasing customer lifetime value. We work with a lot of businesses all over the world, and most of them we can usually double their business without adding a single new client, just by increasing the lifetime value. So how do you increase lifetime value? So if someone sees you more frequently, or if they buy a high level of your service, or if you reactivate someone who's been dormant and maybe not coming back, and particularly in chiropractic, a lot of it is about someone coming back and making sure that they're maintained. So, uh,
Mm.
really thinking about how do I increase customer lifetime value, not necessarily from a selfish perspective, but from a perspective of how do we maintain care and make sure that someone who's fixed remains fixed, right? So,
Mm.
if you're if you're dehydrated and I give you a third of a glass of water, that's good, but like it's not. super helpful. I need to give you maybe a liter of water for you to kind of get rehydrated, and then keep giving you water so that you stay hydrated on a regular basis. So in a similar way, when you get someone maybe out of immediate pain, what's the long-term plan that you can put them on that's going to increase your customer lifetime value, but also get them a better result long term? And as you alluded to, it may not be necessarily with an adjustment. Maybe it's with a health plan or whatever. So a lot of times, something that's led to someone needing a chiropractic adjustment may be lifestyle issues. Maybe
Mm.
they're overweight, maybe they don't move enough, maybe whatever it is. And it could be that you might team up with somebody else, maybe a fitness trainer, maybe a nutritionist, maybe whatever, or bring that into your practice, whatever it is. But there are like tons of ways to increase customer lifetime value and do it in a way that's ethical and that actually provides a lot of value for the patient.
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things about the chiropractic business model is that what's great for our patients is also really great for our model too.
Yeah,
We live in a society that's about entropy. Like, we clean our teeth
totally.
this morning, going to clean them again tonight. Like,
Totally.
if the adjustment that you had today is, you're going to need to be checked again in the future because you live life inside of that too. And so then it's a matter of just having really lovely, heart-centered, patient-centered conversations with our practice members about how healthy they want to be and
Yeah,
what results do they want. And a number of them are going to say, look, I want the whole enchilada. You go, great. Here's all the things
yeah.
that I can kind of help you at as well there too. In the time that went between and I know there's some differences between book one and book two, are there things that are changing in the marketing world?
Yeah, probably the use of technology has changed a lot. So now we've got AI tools. Now we've got things that give us a lot of leverage. So, which is kind of a double-edged sword. So, I spoke at an event of a agencies quite recently in Miami, and they're all people who are super techie when it comes to the marketing process. So they're SEO specialists, pay-per-click specialists, email marketing specialists, and so they've done very, very well over the years just by being able to kind of hack the system by getting you on page one of Google or doing, backlink stuffing or whatever technical tricks that they do. But the problem is those technical tricks are now getting less and less effective. And now the
Mm.
stuff that really matters is how good your content is, how good your marketing is, how intrinsically good it is. Because for a couple of reasons. So first of all, that technical stuff is getting easier to do because of the tools that we've got. Like 10 years ago, I mean, there were very few good CRM systems. We didn't have AI tools. We didn't have all of this stuff. But also Google, Facebook, TikTok, all of these, they use machine learning and AI to figure out what someone wants, right? So you no longer need hashtags and backlinks and all of that to tell them what's valuable and what's really
Mm.
good. They figure it out just based on behavior. They're like, oh wow, everyone's kind of scrolling past this video, so we're going to remove that out of the For You page. Whereas, hey, everyone's watching through this whole video and they're commenting and they're doing all of this, so this must be a valuable video. Let's show it to more people. So the kind of technical trickery that you needed to be good at before is starting to apply less and less.
Mm.
And the quality of the actual content is becoming much, much more important. You used to be able to hack your way onto page one of Google or just do some trickery or whatever. That's becoming very, very difficult to do. And I think in a pretty short time, it's going to become impossible to do. It's going to become essentially a meritocracy when it comes to the content that you create.
Yeah, I think we'll be better for that as well. As we kind of wind all this up today, if there was one key takeaway from lean marketing that you'd kind of hope that the listeners here would apply, what might it be?
Yeah, it'd really be focused. Like, what's the one or two things that you can do that really move the needle? You don't need to do 1,000 different things. And in fact, it's going to be counterproductive for you to be doing tons of different things. So, what are the one or two modalities that you excel at? What's the one solution that you really love delivering that people get a lot of value out of that you could be famous for in your niche? So doing less but going and doing it at a much deeper level.
Yeah, love it. Brilliant work. Alan, thanks for sharing so generously today. Thanks for writing another great book. I'll make sure that I have all the important links in the show notes rather than having you kind of, rip them off now because people won't listen to them anyway there too. So the books are fantastic, both of them. I'm a huge fan of both of the books there too. Has book number 3 started to percolate in the brain?
Yeah, I've got a few. I'm kind of working on a few concepts at the moment. It won't be any time soon, but yeah, I've got a couple of concepts there in the background.
Well, buddy, I look forward to it. Once again, thanks for sharing with us today. Have a very Merry Christmas and look forward to chatting again soon.
Thanks, Angus. Much appreciated.
If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out my Community Influencer Program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work with you to help you apply it, implement it, and systemize it. The Community Influencer Group Coaching Program is designed to help you increase your practice income, impact, and enjoyment. Join me over at anguspyke.com/join. That's anguspyke.com/join. I'd love to see you there.